everyone, and welcome to my channel where I post all about motherhood. And I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I talk about everything from pregnancy, birth, to eventually I want to talk about toddler things. I've had this channel for about a week, and it has been so much fun sharing my journey and my experiences with you guys. And I just want to continue this mom journey with you guys. In this video, I am going to be talking about my second pregnancy, second birth, and so everything was a lot different. In 2019 is when I had my first baby, and in 2020, October 7th, 2020, my husband and I got married, and basically right after I got baby fever for baby number 2, like really bad. My first son was a year and a half old, and he was just talking and he was independent and walking around, and my mama heart was like, okay, first of all, I wanted him to have a friend, and second of all, I was like, okay, he's not my little baby anymore. I want another one. So that is basically the way that I felt, and we were becoming more secure as a family. We were married, and so everything felt just really comfortable and nice, and I was like, let's grow this family thing that we've got going on. So we decided to start trying in January, and I found out that I was pregnant by March of 2021, and I didn't even show any symptoms. I was like, wow, for being pregnant, I had just had like a missed period for like 2 days, and I just decided to take a test even though I didn't even feel weird, and it was kind of normal for me to miss a period every now and then because I had just stopped breastfeeding 2 months before that. And so I was still kind of irregular. So I was like, okay, but I took a test anyways because we were kind of trying and thinking about it, and boom, 2 red lines. And so we were super excited, little scared, but we found out around like 4 weeks. Like it was really, really early, but it took about a week and a half to 2 weeks. And then week 6 hit, and I got nausea. And so with my first pregnancy, Tums and Ritz crackers, golden, and I was fine and I could still work through it. But I remember calling out to my job and being like, look, I cannot come in, because it literally, some mornings I would wake up and feel like I had a virus. That's how bad the nausea was. And it kind of went on into the day. After about 2 weeks, I kind of calmed down with time. Like it would be 12 p.m. and I would finally level off. And so I started adjusting my wake up time to be a lot earlier. So when I had to work, I wasn't coming in to a restaurant feeling terrible. I also got Zofran for that pregnancy, which helps nausea a whole lot. So I took Zofran like every single day in the morning, along with eating a little something, and it was usually fine. I remember during this pregnancy as well, I was pregnant most of the summertime. And so I got dehydrated a lot because my son liked to walk around outside, my oldest, and he was 2 during the summer. And so we spent a lot of time outside, and I didn't drink enough water. I would get lightheaded, and it just didn't feel very good. And then that pregnancy with the nausea, I really thought I was going to have a girl the whole first part. Then when we found out we were going to have a boy, I was still excited because I already had everything I needed for a boy. So it just transitioned very nicely, and I was not as disappointed as I thought I was going to be not having a girl. I was just pretty much overjoyed that I had a healthy baby. As far as anything else goes, the pregnancy was very, very smooth. I didn't have any reason to go to like the doctor extra, and I got super huge. By the end of it, I was just like all belly, like a huge basketball times 2 in front of me. But I will say that by the time we got to October, which I was due November 16th, and so the beginning of October, I started having really bad Braxton Hicks contractions, which are like false labor, and that can be due to dehydration as well. And so I was always told to rest, but when you have a toddler and you're working, it's like, okay, with what time am I supposed to rest? I went to the maternity ward at the hospital at 36 weeks because I had really bad Braxton Hicks and they sent me home. And at 37 weeks, I was 3 centimeters dilated, but I stayed like that until 38 weeks, and that's when I'll get into like my labor and delivery. Because man, nothing prepared me for the pain I felt, because somehow as a mom, you forget the pain of childbirth and then you decide to do it again. And so it was Halloween Day. The week before, we walked the entire North Carolina Zoo, which is huge. And we also went to a flea market and walked around. And I just remember walking the driveway a few times. I just really liked to walk during my pregnancy because it just felt like I was getting everything ready for labor. I just remember Halloween night, I started feeling those Braxton Hicks, and I was like, okay, I'm not really in any pain, but I feel the squeeze in my stomach and then let go. Squeeze and then let go. But it was painless at first. And so I was fine until I went to put my 2-year-old to sleep, and then I laid in the bed, and at about midnight, I was like, okay, that one kind of hurt, but my water never broke. And I was like, I'm gonna call my mom because she was supposed to keep my oldest at the time. And she was supposed to keep him while I went to the hospital. So I called her. I was like, hey, I've already got him to sleep. Sorry to wake you, but I think I might be in labor now. She came and she just got set up in the living room ready to spend the night and just be there for when my son woke up. And I let my husband sleep as long as he could because we didn't know if I really was going in labor. So if he was going to have to get up and work the next day, I was like, I don't want you to miss out on all your sleep if this is nothing. But anyways, by 2 o'clock in the morning, I was like, okay, these contractions are like 10-ish minutes, or they were less than 10 minutes apart, and they were getting to where they really hurt like a pretty decent period cramp would. And so it was nothing I couldn't handle. I wasn't like, I mean, it would make you stop in your tracks and like breathe for a second and kind of rock through it, but it wasn't anything I was like just doubled over in pain. And so we drove over to the hospital, and I was really disappointed because on the way to the hospital, I realized I didn't have a contraction the whole drive, and it was a 15-minute drive, and I had been having them pretty consistently walking around my house. And so during the drive, I was like, okay, nothing's happening. And then they made me lay down, and they tied the little things to my belly to kind of like time them and everything and left me in a room. And they did that a couple weeks before and sent me home, and I was like, please let me have this baby tonight, please, 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 please. And then they came back in about an hour later of me feeling a few contractions but not many, and they were like, we're gonna admit you, because they checked me and they were like, because you're 4.5 centimeters dilated and your contractions are pretty like close together. So they were like, don't go home, just get your stuff and we'll set you up in a room. And it's the most surreal feeling when you go into a room at the hospital and you see a bassinet and you know that it's time. It's just the craziest feeling. And so we went into that room, and I had a birth playlist, which is all reggaeton remixed music. I'm just not really a chill music type of person. So I was listening to jams while I was in labor, and I had it really quiet up to my head, kind of like placed behind me. After they set me up, they turned the lights off because it was like 3 a.m. at that point, and they just let me be by myself. They watched my contractions, and they were still pretty steady at like 5 to 7 minutes apart, and my water still hadn't broken. So I told my husband to lay down on the couch and sleep until I needed him. And I think it was like 2 hours later, or maybe not, it just seemed like it. But the nurse comes back and the contractions had gotten pretty hard, but I was trying to like close my eyes and relax and stuff. And so she checked me and she was like, "Girl, you're 7 centimeters dilated." And I was like, "Okay." She was like, "Well, let me call your OB to the hospital." And I was still like really chill. I remember being induced for my first pregnancy, and so everything was really fast. And so I didn't feel the pain that I had felt the first time. So I was like, "I think I'm still good. I don't think I'm close to giving birth or anything." And she was like, "Well, you're 7 centimeters, so we're gonna call." And so the OB came in and I was like almost 8 centimeters dilated, and they broke my water for me and woke up my husband. The nurse was mad that he was sleeping, and I'm like, if I, the mother and wife, am not mad, you shouldn't be mad. I think she might have had some of her own personal man problems. But after they broke my water, the OB broke it, and then the contractions were really close together and hurt so bad. I just remember screaming so loud and just having no chill because it hit all at once and I didn't expect it at all. And so I was very tense, and it was a very stressful last little bit because I feel like I was in that moment for like hours and hours, but it was probably like less than an hour. But they kept telling me I was at 8.5 centimeters and not to push, and that it was like that forever, it felt like. And I just kept screaming, and she was like, "You need to stop tensing up like that and screaming and tightening your legs up." But it was the worst. But anyways, I remember when they told me I could push, and I was so excited, and he got stuck halfway through coming out, but I'll spare you the details of that. But he was very healthy and we got through it. No rounds of medication and no epidural, but it was a really, really hard experience. And so at 8:56 a.m. he was born, a 7 pounds 1 ounce little baby. And I just remember being so relieved, and yeah, it was something. But the next video I make, I have some things I want to talk about that were kind of hard, and it was about his milk allergy and colic issues that we went through. But I've already gone pretty long on this video, so I'm going to make a separate video for all you mamas that might be dealing with colic and milk allergy, or just your baby screaming all night, because even though he was chill the first 2 weeks, after that 2 weeks was over, it was on. So I've got more stories for you guys coming up soon. Thank you for listening to this one. If you liked it, subscribe, comment, like, all the things. Just stick around, and I will see you guys soon.